Thank you for joining us for Tree Doctors today. On our program, we're going to introduce you to some interesting people. Ed's going to give you some tips on how you can take care of your trees, and we're going to look at some unique trees. It's all coming up right now on Tree Doctors.
The tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject a zap back in your tree's sap. Research has showed that ice-damaged trees are stressed, and stressed trees lead to insect and disease attack. Micro Tree Injection is the answer for your trees. Micro Tree Injection is a closed system, delivering the exact dose of systemic chemical directly to the sap stream of the tree. Once the problem is identified, the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject vitamins, minerals, or insecticide directly into the sap stream of your trees. This bypasses the roots and provides immediate results. Micro Tree Injection has been university tested and field proven for over 35 years. After the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service treats your trees, you receive a written 1-year guarantee. We won't treat a tree we don't think we can help. Let the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service put the zap back in your tree's sap.
Daddy phoned to tell us that old tree might have to come down. The one I had the tree house in and chased my wife around. He said a neighbor showed him where it was busting at the trunk. And if the snow got heavy, it could crack down to the stump. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Grandpa said they planted it when he was just 8 years old. His mama kept the clods broke up while his daddy dug the hole. I phoned up a friend of mine that lives in our hometown. He said he knew a tree doctor didn't like to cut trees down. The man went out and checked our tree and bolted it back together. He said it would last a lifetime, no matter what the weather. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Yes, we got to save our family tree.
Let's go see if we can catch up with Ed Dickey and find out what's going on right now on Tree Doctors.
I'm here in Jonesboro on Main Street at the First Christian Church. Here about 6 years ago, this tree was busting, splitting apart, and it actually, a piece of it fell and hit a police car coming down the street there at that time. Had a big old crack in it. They called me in, and I put 3 large bracing rods in it, pulled it back together, and the tree's still doing fine. It's a big old tree. It's going to be around a long time. So next time you're coming down Main Street and you see this big old tree, take a look at it. I'm tickled they let me save it. I'm here in Jonesboro with Dr. Berry, and Dr. Berry, why don't you tell our viewers what is going on with your trees when we first started working on them about 5 years ago?
Well, we had lost one in the back already with borers, and then we had another tree. One of the hickories back there was splitting, and we were going to probably eventually lose it, but you put an iron rod in there. At least we've kept it for a little while longer, and it was pretty even this year.
Yes, sir. And I checked it just before you came out, and it's doing well now. Also, you had me put a lightning arrestor in this big old sweet gum tree in the front. Does it make you feel a little more at ease when it's storming?
When the lightning strikes, and we've had a few around here, my mother lived across the way and lost a tree with lightning strikes, so this one makes me feel a little bit better. It's on a high spot, and I think that hopefully it's collecting all the lightning.
Yes, sir, and that's what everybody says after they get it put in. That makes them sleep better anyway. You know, it does me. I got one at the office. What about your other trees, Doc? We've done a few things over the years on your trees. What you got to sum it up and to say about them?
Well, of course, we've spent a lot of money. A lot of these trees were here when we built a house, but we've added a lot of ornamentals as well. And a lot of these are Japanese maples, and we've treated those, and they have gone through borers, gone through the winter. Everything looks real well at the present time. So I would recommend your service.
Well, thank you, Doc. Another thing I want to point out, you have got one of the largest Japanese maples I bet I've ever seen in the rear of your house. Is that right?
That's right. We've got 4 or 5 here in front, and one big one in the back that we just set out to move later on. It got so big, now we can't move it.
Yes, sir. It's you sure have a pretty yard, and it speaks for itself. Well, Dr. Berry, I want to thank you for taking a minute and talking about your trees with me.
Good. Thank you a lot, Mr. Dickey. Appreciate it.
Like you've heard me say many times, trees will adapt if the work is done properly. When this driveway was put in several years ago, they just cut this area off and dropped it down here, and the trees was allowed to put out new roots for support. And these support roots go right on down and go underneath this slab that's here now. And the tree is still a strong tree, and they still got their driveway, and everything is working right. In the future, if it starts to be a problem with the slab, like I said, you just cut down here to keep the roots from causing you a problem in the future. But here we have, 10 or 12 years down the pike where they've cut the wall off. The tree is still doing well, and so is the driveway. So a little bit of preparation goes a long way with your trees. I've talked about leaving stuff on your trees. Well, there's a place up near Campbell, Missouri, right out from Malden, where they had 3 or 4 magnolias, and the Christmas lights was left on the trees, and when I got there, it had just about choked the trees out. You could almost hear them trees go when I cut them wires from the lights being left on there. And that's just a simple oversight you just need to watch out for. I'm here in Zenith, Missouri with Tom Deck, and he's got 4 big old pecan trees, and I had treated for his father, Jimmy Deck, back in '97. And why don't you tell us a little bit about these trees, Tom?
Well, like you said, you treated the trees, and my father had treated them himself, tried to. And after he heard about you and got your services for the trees, had a bumper crop. The 4 trees produced over 1,000 pounds of pecan. Never had done that before. It's been several years since you've been able to do it, and we noticed this last year we really had a decline, so that's why we called you up to have you come back out and retreat them for us.
Yes, sir. It generally lasts about 5 years once they're treated. Now, you moved back here from Texas, is that right?
Yes, sir. We sure did. We moved back about 6 months ago to take care of my mother.
What part of Texas?
Texarkana, Texas.
Well, you brought a little bit of wisdom with you when you come, Tom, because I was quizzing you about what's going on here to the side of us with these birds, and won't you tell our viewers kind of how you attracted these birds back here?
Right. What we've got is, in Texas, we really had a large setup of bird feeders, and we know this area up here is even harder hit with the cold winters, so the birds have to have some kind of source of food that supplements them if they're going to survive. With our garden here that we have out here too, we really wanted a way to have the bird population high to help control insects. So we've actually put up suet seed. We've got seeds, suet, every form of bird there is. We've got a little bit of taste for them. The suet we use actually has peanut butter mixed in it, and that attracts every type of bird that there is in the realm out here. We've got some of the feeders have a large seed for the cardinals, and some of it has smaller seeds, such as this right here, for the finch birds that are out here, in which you have a lot in this area, a lot of finches in this area.
You had mentioned earlier there's about 5 yellow canaries there, or what was that?
Yeah, yellow canaries. We're just covering this up, and we also had an oriole this year that nested this last spring. It's the first oriole that we ever saw in this area right here, ourselves personally. So we're kind of happy about that, and hoping that we can have the family come back again this year.
Well, that's great. I know a lot of our viewers like birds, and by mixing that peanut butter with that soot, makes it a more of a tight compound that will be easier to put out, didn't it?
Right. You can actually go on the web, and you can get the recipes if you're going to make your own suet recipes out there. There's plenty of them out there available, and just some of them have bits of fruits you can put in there, because some of these birds are fruit eaters, and they like the blueberry chips and fruits you can put in there to help them.
Tom, tell me a little bit about what kind of bird feeder this here is.
Well, this is your squirrel-proof bird feeder. In this area, we have quite a few squirrels, and squirrels love bird feed. So if you don't want to be feeding squirrels, we found this at one of the local stores, and actually what happens when the squirrel gets on her, the weight of the squirrel will pull down, and the little leaves here, metal leaves, will cover up the actual holes that the birds can get in and feed right there. So it just keeps your feeders full for your birds instead of squirrels.
That is super. Thank you for showing it to me.
Yes, sir.
You heard me mention about cutting your trench to protect your foundation of your house. Well, here we have a tree that's, almost up against this house. It's been allowed to grow here for a number of years, and it's got a prevailing lean that's it's at least 20 degrees. In other words, it's not a straight up tree. So the precaution I would use here is I wouldn't do all my trenching at one time. I would do a portion of it. In 6 months to a year later, I'd do another portion and put my piece of metal in there. The reason why, you don't want to sever all the roots on the back side of this tree, creating a hazard for this tree with the prevailing lean going the other way. So common sense will tell you that you can do a portion of this, and if the tree has a very bad lean, you might just want to do a third of it. You come back here about 3 or 4 foot behind me and cut up to here, and then in 6 or 8 months do another portion and then another portion. If you do it in stages, your tree will adapt, is what I'm trying to say. And if you get this tree adapting, there's no reason that the home and the tree can't be here for a lot of years to come if you do it correctly. When you do the trenching by these trees, be sure to check for your underground utilities. There's no cost generally if you don't know where they're at. There's a 800 number you can call, and they can tell you whether you're going to be cutting any underground utilities when you dig down around these trees, especially if you're using a trencher, or in this case, where this tree is growing so close to this concrete slab, you can actually use a chainsaw. And the way you use a chainsaw is you wait till the chain is, you take one with a real dull chain, and you just cut down right along the edge. This is a small trench, and then you slide your piece of metal in to keep your roots from growing back. Pretty easily done, and it's better to leave it up to professional tree guy if you can. But like I said, you check, make sure there's not any pipes or underground utilities where you'll get in trouble with. This is places where you don't have room to dig a trench, where you have to either use a trencher or a chainsaw to sever these roots. And that will keep them ruining this nice patio, let you have this great tree. And again, you might want to do it in stages so you don't weaken the tree. The tree's been there 40-something years already. A few more months, not going to make a difference. Do it in stages. You'll be glad you did. I'm here with Shelly Yarbrough and Phyllis Morris in the backyard. And Miss Morris, how did this pine tree get to leaning like it is?
It was one of our first bad ice storms I guess it was 94 or 95. And I just let it go. It doesn't seem unhappy.
No, remember, it gives a yard character. At some point in time, I think it's probably going to give you trouble. But
this one over here did fall off and break and die and stuff. But this one is doing well.
Yes, ma'am. And at the time it could have been pulled back up, but it gives you got so many in your backyard, it doesn't hurt anything, does it?
No, I think it's unique.
You said it right there. Shelly, you was get right over here. You was telling me you did some rappelling and stuff in camp, tying off some of these pine trees and stuff. Does that make you think of that?
Kinda, yeah. Because we at the course we had to drill in. It was already set up for us as instructors. We had to make sure everything was safe and tied up to the trees themselves, and it creaked and it scared the kids a lot.
Right. And what do you call that? What y'all did?
We were ropes course instructors. We did free fall rappelling, we did zip lining, we had a log walk, we had wire walks, all connected to these trees.
Right. Yeah, I've had inspect a few of the courses in the Batesville area and over around Heber Springs, where they got the outdoor things, and it's really neat if you get a chance to see that. And a lot of the trees, each year you have to inspect to make sure the tree's solid enough to hold up everything.
That's right. The people who come and built the course in the first time the camp opened, they come out and they check and make sure everything is safe, and if it isn't, we close it down. We don't take the kids on it, but they teach us about every single tree, what to look for in case something happens, how to watch where they drill in the bolts and everything else, and the steps. Exactly.
It's very safety oriented, and it's generally a place that has a lot of trees too. So they just hook to another one if they're worried about one of them. Well, I appreciate you both talking about the trees, and don't you think it's, Shelley, a cool pine tree?
This is a cool pine tree. It's been like this ever since we moved here, a long time ago.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Miss Morris, thanks for talking about your pine tree.
Well, that's great. I enjoy having it. A lot of people have wanted to cut it, but I don't want them to.
Oh, I don't blame you. No bigger than it is, and if it ever does ease on over, it will it'll be a gradual thing because the tree's healthy, and you do the little bit of feeding and preparation for it to keep it good.
Yes.
So I look for the tree to be here for a good while. Miss Morris, you got this beautiful magnolia tree here in the front yard, and I have a lot of my clients ask the right way to whether to leave the limbs low on a magnolia tree or to prune them up. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I trim this tree so that I can get my cars in and out from under it. And then anything that runs into the house, I just trim it when it's in the way.
Yes, ma'am. Preventive maintenance then. Right. So the reason this is up where you can walk under it is just not so much aesthetics. It's for the benefit of you getting the cars in.
Right. That's right, because we have to have someplace to park.
Yes, ma'am. And I noticed you've kept from putting concrete or anything around it. You still maintain a chat area so to protect the roots a little bit too, don't you?
Yes, I do. I think it's important that they get the rainfall and stuff without the concrete or the tarvy.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the magnolia, it can't get the rain that other trees do anyway because of the thickness of the leaves, and you're perfectly right by saying it needs all the ground space it can get to look good. That's one reason your magnolia, I believe, looks extremely well.
Good. I think it's pretty.
Yes, ma'am. And they're a pretty good, easy tree to take care of. And do you have any idea how old this tree is?
No, I don't. I know it's a long time. We've only lived here 10 years, and they were all here then. So I don't know how old they are.
Yes, ma'am. It was probably a big tree at that time anyway. But thanks for talking about your magnolia.
Yes, I get pleasure out of talking about my trees.
Stick around. More Tree Doctors is coming right up, right after these messages.
Hello, I'm Ed Dickey, the tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service. I'm coming to you from inside of a tree. We've been getting inside of trees for 35 years. We get to the root of the problem. Give us a call. We know how to save your trees. We put the chemical where it needs to be, inside your tree, taking care of insect and disease problems. We're often imitated, but never duplicated. We've been doing this 35 years. We know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service. It's not hard to see what killed these trees. It was boreworms. The borer is a hard insect to control, virtually untouched with spraying and other applications. But with systemic injection, when the borer eats the tree, the borer dies. Trees are dying all over, but we've got the cure. We give a 1-year guarantee when we treat your trees for the borers. We've been doing this 35 years, and we know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees. You're going to start seeing a mailbag on our program every week now. We did a survey and we found out a lot of people want their questions answered that way. And in case your question don't get answered during the mailbag segment, you can go to dickeytree.com and email us there, or you can just send it by mail to the Tree Doctors
at Post Office Box 790, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401. All right, this one is from Jerry in Mammoth Springs, Arkansas. I'm thinking about putting in an irrigation system to water my lawn and trees. When is the best time to do this, and what precautions should I take for my trees? All right, Jerry. The odd thing about putting in irrigation and sprinkler systems is most people put it in at the wrong time. The perfect time to put it in would be in the fall when it's dormant. You do less damage. But it seems that people need to wait till for one reason or other, they wait till summertime to put it in. But one of the things you need to watch for, you need to stay away from being close to the trunk of your trees as you can possibly, so you don't sever many roots, because you're going to cut roots, believe me, when you put the irrigation system in. So it's kind of a catch-22 thing where you do some damage, but you do some good once you start watering regularly. But what I would recommend doing, I'd fertilize my trees quite heavily the year before my sprinkler system went in, and then I'd do it again the year after I got my sprinkler system. The first fertilizing will be to enhance feeder root growth, to allow for some being severed, of course, and keep the health of the tree up. The second one being is to rejuvenate those roots that got severed after the irrigation system went in. So if you do that, and you got to have irrigation for your trees, if you do that, I think you'll cut your damage down to a minimum. But if possible, if a person puts it in the dormant season, in the wintertime, you do a whole lot less damage, and you still end up with a good sprinkler system. All right, this one is from Calvin in Forest City, Arkansas. On your show, you talk about putting lightning rods in trees. Do they work? And if they do, how do they work? Well, Calvin, yes, they do work, and the way they work is we place when the lightning rod is installed, it's installed in the largest tree around your residence, and it's put in the top of the tree, as near the top as possible. A climber puts it up there, and it's attached to insulators in the top of the tree, and then a number 4 solid copper cable comes down the trunk of the tree to the ground. A trench is dug away from the trunk area, and a ground rod is driven in the ground 8 foot deep, and it's all hooked together. And what this does is attracts lightning that's going to be in your area, and it actually harnesses this lightning and sends it safely into the ground. Now, this will protect not only that tree, but research has showed trees around it for a good number of feet around it. Pretty big circle. So one in a average size yard is enough. Now, all of our presidents' homes up north and historic trees, just about all of them have lightning protection if you ever go and check out the historic sites. And from Cape Girardeau, Missouri on north of here, all of the tall 2-story buildings actually they put lightning protection on those. So lightning protection is a good idea to start with. But yeah, the lightning rods, we oversee getting those put in, and they work extremely well. And the one question that you didn't ask that I'm going to go ahead and answer is, have you ever known of anybody that's actually seen it when it was struck? And I have. The guy was in Dyersburg, Tennessee. He owns a factory over there that makes struts for automobiles and race cars. And he was cooking patios on his back porch, and cooking hamburgers or something on his back porch, barbecuing. And a storm come up, and he had to go out and get the meat. And when he did, we had put a lightning rod in his neighbor's trees 2 or 3 years before. He actually seen when the lightning hit the tree and through the ground, because it was kind of dark because the cloud had come up. He could see the lightning where it went down the ground and followed the rod underground, and it sent it harmlessly down in the ground. He seen it come right down the tree and into the ground. But that's the only person I've actually talked to that was standing near where a lightning hit a tree. I wouldn't want to be standing near one anyway, but he actually seen that. And one of these days we might get him on the show to tell about what he saw. If you got a question for us here, just go to dickeytree.com and email us, or send it to the Tree Doctors, Post Office Box 790, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401. And we'll answer each and every one of them. I'm here with Gale Edwards, and he's got a big old nice oak tree at the rear of his property. And Gail, won't you tell our viewers what I told you about this tree?
Well, when you come out and looked at it, it was just about had it. The worms had just about ate it up, and we had rotten side, and you told me it would probably be better to just let it have a slow death and just let Mother Nature take care of itself.
That's right. I want the viewers to see that we don't treat every tree we look at, because sometimes they got real bad problems. The camera might not show it, but this has got an enormous hollow in it, and it's got fruiting bodies growing down here from the heart rot. That means the roots in this area are dead, and I told him that it'd be better just let it just go on and die slow. Don't put any money in it, and when it starts being a hazard, just cut it down. Is that correct?
That's correct. He says it's just past saving at this point. If we'd have caught it 10 years ago, we'd have done some good for it, but it's just too far gone now to put any more money into it.
That's right. Yeah, I love the statement you had said. If we'd caught it 10 years ago, that it would have made a difference, and it would have. So don't wait too long when you call us to look at your tree. We can generally do you some good, but this goes to show you we don't treat every tree, and we don't treat a tree unless we think we can help a tree. Gail, you got a ash tree here. Why don't you tell the viewers what's going on with it when you call me?
There was some worms that my wife seen when she come out, and they were just crawling all over the tree, and they were eating the leaves, and this whole one side over there was all eat off. They were just covered. They falling off on my house. My house is green, and they done a good job on that one side. Almost killed it. You come out and took care of it for me that one time.
Yes, sir. By treating it, we got rid of them boogers. And how long you lived here?
About 7 years.
Have you been plagued with them same bugs all this time, or just?
Well, I never paid no attention to it the first couple of years because I was on the road a lot. At the third year, I quit driving and started staying home, and that's when I noticed them. They were all over the place. They were just eating the leaves off like they were real hungry.
Yes, sir. Well, maybe what we did will take care of it for you. And you're retired now, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I retired in '99, and the wife and I bought this and moved here. Of course, I was born here, and we moved to Michigan and stayed 17 years, and moved to Texas, stayed another 17, and ended up back home.
Well, we're glad to have you back here.
Well, we're glad to be back.
And you also do a little gardening, and you got fruit trees around there, and I kind of gave him some tips on how to take care of those. One of these days, when the leaves get on here, we might have to stop back and see how this ash tree's doing.
Well, it done real good. The first year, like I say, it was just covered with worms. I mean, the ground was green, tree was green, my house was green worms. You come in and sprayed it and got rid of the biggest part of them. We had just a few last year, after you sprayed it. And after that, though, it perked up and started leafing out and looking pretty good now.
Well, that's after we systemically did it to the soil, did that soil injection, and that got all the rest of them, sure did. Well, I appreciate you taking a minute and talk about your ash tree.
Well, it's my pleasure, and we enjoy the tree, and we'd like for you to come back and do it again if you would.
I'll do it. Thank you.
All right.
We thank you so much for joining us today on Tree Doctors. Remember, if you have any questions, go to dickeytree.com and you can email Ed from there. Thank you again. We'll see you next time on Tree Doctors.